You42 podcast.
Chip chop, choppy chop, chipper chop.
Okay, everybody, this is podcast numero dos.
That's Spanish for the two.
That's Spanish for two.
The two.
I need you to move the mic a little bit closer to your face.
At least I don't have to eat it this time.
That's good.
Can you hear
Don't
that?
tap it. Don't tap it.
Can you hear that?
So we're going to continue down the avenue of talking about the artistic process, right? This time we're going to talk about art school.
Yeah.
And art classes in high school and all that stuff pertaining to people trying to teach you how to be
an artist.
How to be creative.
I just laugh at that because
It's a hard thing to do, man.
The creative gene is in everyone, I believe, but I don't know if you should be exploiting or taking advantage of somebody.
Some people
just
should ignore their creative.
They just
juice.
Don't have it, and I hate telling people like I don't want to be like you're not a creative person, but maybe I should be.
But
like,
see, that starts in high school, right? That's art teachers in high school,
right? And I think there
or
should
maybe
be
even
something...
elementary school, breaking little children's hearts, being like, "Sorry, little Johnny, your tree looks like."
I don't think you should. It's not long. That's not about the process of breaking their hearts, but it's about the process of letting them know that yes, you can make a living at this, or no, you should probably think about other avenues to make a living on.
Yeah, but they're not thinking about that in elementary school.
No, but damn it, in high school you should be.
In high school, sure.
Right. And that's where I got my first real, I guess, taste of the idea of being able to make a living as an artist. I remember in high school.
Just before you continue, I just want to say we're going to try to avoid specifics, schools, because we went to the same school.
Right. But no, when I was in high school, I remember seeing a flyer for my college that I would have wound up attending. And it's crazy because back then it literally was just a poster with a tear off.
So you were a pimply-faced blue dev looking at flyers in your high school.
Yes. Call me Pizza Face Pete.
Pizza Face Pete.
Yeah. Even though my first name is not Pete, it's Blue Dev.
It could be.
I don't look like a Pete.
Yeah.
I don't look like a Pete.
So little pimply-faced, artistic.
Pulled off one of those little flyers that had the pre-posted. Didn't even have to put a stamp on it. I didn't even have to put a damn stamp on that. Filled it out, sent it in.
Is that the one where they make you draw turtles and put it back in the envelope?
No, it wasn't. That is still an actual thing.
I know.
That is still a commercial.
I know, it's crazy.
Will you take this art test?
Yeah, art test. Everybody is perfect at it.
Just take this art
They
test
have
and send it in.
They have 100% genius rate on that.
It's like, of course they do, so they can get your damn money.
Right.
Yeah, well, it all comes full circle.
It does.
But no, yeah. So in high school, I mean, I was pretty nifty with the pottery wheel, but I still didn't think I'd be able to make a transition into a career.
Pottery wheel.
Yeah. Throwing in the kennel, setting it on the fire.
Slinging mud.
Slinging mud, making cool ashtrays.
Ashtrays for the parents.
Yeah, even though if my
Probably
dad
don't smoke.
caught me smoking, he'd punch a hole in my chest.
Why ashtrays? That's such a weird thing.
It's like that was the
It's a
only
gift.
thing you could really make in my class.
Yeah.
It's like, what could this be? Well, I'm not going to eat cereal out of it because I'll probably wind up eating
Maybe my
paint.
parents will smoke cigarettes out of it.
There you go. Give them an ashtray.
Yeah,
No, but yeah. So that's that eventually sent me on to college.
Well, there's a difference, right? Like high school. Well, your I don't know what you call it, like the lower school art classes, right? It's much more of a personal thing, right? Like you're not really collaborating in high school.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's more individualistic.
You're not making a group project out of the ashtray.
No, in high school. It's all maybe things have changed. I don't know.
It could be different. Yeah.
It could be different nowadays, but and I don't mind showing my age, one, because I'm immortal, and I've been around for a couple of millenniums. But back in the mid '90s, you treated it like every other
Yeah.
class. You know, if you went into a math, it wasn't like there was a bunch of group projects in math class. So you were individualistic.
And it wasn't very detailed either. Like they didn't really get into
No,
the,
you pretty much came in there and kind of winged. At least I know with ours, we did have a couple of times where we did some community projects as far as building or painting a mural, which is pretty nice. But that was probably out of the 4 years in high school, that was probably the only group-based project
painting
that
a mural.
I can think that we did as far as an art school goes. Now, once you get to college, and then especially really depending on the major you choose, you're going to be working with a lot of people. Sometimes you don't really see eye to eye with them.
Yep.
And it ain't got nothing to do with height.
That's one good thing about college level art school and art classes, right? That's when they throw you into group projects and you start having to defend yourself. That's one of the more awkward parts of art school.
Yes.
Is the first time you have to stand up in front of a class, 20 people, 3 of which you think are hot are going to try to date during the semester, So you're trying to keep your composure and everything. You're up there defending some life drawing that you made.
Critiquing is...
the critiques.
Man, that's
the worst part. That was the worst part.
Because you don't get that in high school.
No.
Nobody gives a shit.
Nobody cares. They're half asleep and stoned anyway.
Pretty much. Everybody's like high off of something, whether it's the enamel paint or whatever activities they were doing prior to the day starting in school. But when you get to college, things are a different speed, especially when it comes to art school-based activities.
Yeah, it's the people that made it out of the gauntlet that is art school in the lower educations. In middle and high school. The people that made it through that and still have they've maintained some amount of self-confidence when it comes to their art, or even keep it as a priority in their life.
It's like, the teacher said I was pretty good at drawing human figures. I might be able to do something with this. And then you go to a life drawing class and you see lots of naked old people, and you're like, whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa, Billy!
You're an ashtray expert, right? Like you made, several dozen.
This was great.
Ashtrays, and
I'm
really good.
Master of ashtray making.
I can make ashtrays.
Now
nobody's business.
I'm going into a life drawing class.
Life drawing class 101. Pimply
Am I drawing?
Still pimply faced.
Still pimply face. Am I drawing ashtrays?
You walk in, right? Like this.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's your first art
ashtrays.
school experience. Life drawing 101. Your first day. It's like your first real experience in art school. So it's my first memory, at least. I'm sure I had other classes. I had like 3D design, making chairs out of cardboard, sitting on them in front of the class, things
making
like that.
Making the flour sack bounce in animation class. You ever have to do that?
Yep, I did that. Ball bouncing.
Yep. I was horrible at 2D animation. That's why I stuck with modeling.
2D animation is tough.
But to transition into modeling, you got to learn how to, draw. And honestly, it's sometimes frightening as it was, drawing bodies that are not the most picturesque.
Well, you get there, right? You walk into the class. It's usually, you're still young. There's a bunch of people you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bunch of creative
These
people.
are your core classes. You got to take these classes before you get into the actual 3D application part.
You sit down, you find one of the easels that, nobody's at. You go over and stand
They're
down.
always in a circle, too.
Yeah, put your brand new pencils that you just got at the overpriced art store.
And there's like a little empty platform in the middle.
Yeah, and you're like, I wonder what they're gonna put there.
And put some, throw some vases.
Yeah, and then
maybe a bowl of fruit.
And this impossibly wrinkled old person comes in a robe, and you're like, we're gonna be drawing a robed old.
We're doing
gentleman.
cloth exercises.
Cloth exercise, right? There's lots of folds.
Gotta learn how to draw the folds and the wrinkles.
Yeah.
But little do you know, you're drawing the folds and the wrinkles and the gluteus maximuses of the models.
Then the robe drops.
The robe drops, and you still see folds and wrinkles. And now it's in the flesh.
That moment is when the high school art students.
It's gone.
It's gone. It washes it all out.
I am no longer innocent and pure.
You can almost see it dripping off everybody. The high school art just drips off of you onto the floor, and you leave that first class, one day, 2-hour class probably, as a completely different person.
You're like, do I really want to continue this?
Right.
I get tomorrow off, but I got to go back in there the day after to see the same thing.
What's funny is everybody's in that situation. They're all trying to act. Everybody's trying to act cool. You're like,
oh yeah,
I've seen this before.
Oh, I'm totally
we totally did this.
Oh man, I saw Becky the other night. It was totally awesome. Sandra, let me tell you something. But there ain't nothing like seeing Captain Morgan.
Wrinkled, nasty.
Wrinkled, 5'10" Captain Morgan. We used to call him. That was one of our models. He was a nice guy. He had a little extra sugar in his tank, if you know what I mean. He was a super cool guy though. But he looked like Captain Morgan. He had long, dark hair.
Sounds
had the
attractive,
whole
actually. Captain
goatee.
Morgan's a looker.
Yeah, but Captain Morgan was also like the size of a defensive end. He's like 6'4", 250. This guy.
How do you know that? Are you a pirate expert?
I am from North Carolina, home of the most famous pirate of all time.
That's just where he died.
That's where he's from.
That's where he died.
He also died there. He died
Okay.
a long time ago.
All right.
His
so,
name was Bearded of the Black.
At this point,
Blackbeard is what they called him.
okay.
Sorry, go on a tangent.
So you survived. You survived.
I
high
survived
school
the
art
naked
classes.
cheeks.
Yeah, you survived middle.
Cheeks.
You survived elementary school, drawing trees and stick figures. You
Finger
survived
paints.
middle school, which is one of the weirdest. parts.
Elementary, don't forget hand turkeys.
Hand turkeys.
Hand turkeys
My
very
goodness,
important.
I completely forgot about hand turkeys.
Yeah.
And then you get through middle school art, which is a little weird because you're doing other things. Art's not really high on the
I don't even
priority
think I
list when you're shooting
remember.
through the puberty.
Yeah. I was in transition of like clothes are now important. Because
Yeah.
girls like,
Yeah, I'm
Guys,
rolling my
I-
jeans up tight.
yeah,
on
I
the-
gotta look cool.
Yeah.
I gotta have my Fila's and my Patrick Ewings and my
That's right.
Jordans.
Well, yeah, you have to.
And then you get into high school.
Girls don't even care. They don't even know what's on your feet. Just a pro tip.
Unless you're a hobbit. Then they know.
That's true. Well, you want to go shoeless then because you got the hair on your feet. But we digress. Let's not get into hobbits. Everybody knows
That's
how we
for
like talking
another
about
episode.
hobbits. Yeah,
For another cast of potting.
podcast 26, we'll cover hobbits,
27 is Balrogs.
Balrogs. Yeah.
And then 28.
You gotta do hobbits first.
Yeah. Men's
Anyway,
back
you survive high school, which you start getting a little more serious about. And you're like, maybe I can do this art thing. You get into college.
Yeah.
And you
There's
go-
still some people in high school or that's just like, oh, this is just good times, just a class.
They don't care.
They don't care. But there's people that tell them, like, you should pursue this. You should
Yeah.
continue to go down this path. And it's like, maybe I should. Next thing you know, they done wasted 2-3 years of their life.
Wasted is kind of a strong.
And they're
strong
back
word.
selling insurance for dad.
Yeah, that's a good place to stop, I think. No. So, why should people? Like we were just talking about experiences in art school. There's a lot more to it. Once you go through, your first couple of years, you get your core classes in. You go do color theory
Oh,
and
man.
like color theory. I think is one of the most
Art
important
history
parts.
was the worst.
Art history was the worst. I
Because
mean,
they make
seriously.
you have to learn 3. You have to go
It's
through
just a
3
bunch of
classes.
memorization. Like,
All
you
it is,
that.
but I can't remember my name. Where am I?
Yeah. Manet, Monet, what's the
Like,
difference?
which one is it? Monet, Monet?
Manet, Monet. It's mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise.
That's right.
Mayonnaise.
The Mayonnaise Brothers.
Yes, so pivotal in the Art Baroque movement.
That's not true at all. I remember exactly who they are because it was driven into me by another wrinkled but clothed older lady.
Yes.
Which was a great
Yeah,
argument.
there's not all your professors in our colleges are not going to be naked people standing there for
No.
10 to 15 minute sessions.
I can't get that out of my brain. But I did want to say that one of the coolest things about art school, and I'm not saying you should or shouldn't go. If you're thinking about it, you probably, should at least consider it. If you're considering it, you should consider it. That's my.
If you're
That's
considering it, you should consider
That's
it.
right. But the weird thing about art school is that taken individually, each class doesn't really have a big effect on you. Like, color theory 1, color theory 2, or life drawing or whatever. Each
Right.
one individually doesn't really have an effect. But if you take it as an aggregate, take them all as their general effect on you of having spent 3 years, 2 years in a boiler of creative people in the environment and people just concentrating on creation.
Right.
Right. That experience taken as a total, I think, does have an effect on you when you get out of school and you start, trying to do this professionally and you start understanding.
Right. And I'll even piggyback on that and say that I have been a firm believer, especially in the last few years, that you don't have to go to school to get a job in the industry.
No,
if you are good enough, you can literally learn everything online. All the programs are available online.
That's the thing. Like a lot of the technical information that you learn in art school, especially because we're talking about computer art, because that's
right.
what we've gone into. A lot of the technical stuff you learn by yourself anyway in the labs or at home, playing around with different programs, stuff like that. That's not something that they try to teach you and they give you books for it. But
well, and again, where I was going is that if you do decide to go to school, though, I think that's where you can benefit from getting the whole team aspect.
Yeah,
because that's where that stuff definitely translates into the real world if you get into working for a game studio or production company, whatever it may be.
Yep. That
experience you have in college is something that you can't replicate out on your own. But again, I do believe if you are a strong-willed enough person, if you're talented enough, but again, if you just have the will to become better and better, you can literally, I would say it's going to take an individual, a couple years to really get the ins and outs of any particular program so that you are at a quote-unquote master level. But to say that you have to go to any of these schools across the nation and around the world to be able to be one of the guys and gals that you see on ArtStation or ZBrush Central or in any of the credits for any of these mega blockbuster movies, you don't have to go to school, but going to a bona fide college will help you with the whole team aspect, because that is something that you can't help but to be a part of, because you're going to be with a lighting expert, somebody that's really good with that, or somebody that's focusing in on animation, or somebody that's really good at rigging, or somebody that's really good at producing and keeping everybody held accountable. Like all those things you can definitely become better at in a college environment as opposed to learning things on your own.
It teaches you teamwork, dealing with creative people within a team, and it also teaches you the foundation of art skills, just general art skills, color theory, lighting, things like that, things that you don't even really notice yourself learning. They just sort of bleed into you, like the whole thing. It's hard to describe, but it's something that you definitely benefit from in some way. But again, your work speaks for itself. We've hired lots of people here, and it's never mattered, to me at least, what their school was on their resume.
Right.
I look at their portfolio. That's the first thing. I don't even read their resume first. I just look at their portfolio, and then if their portfolio is good enough, then I'll read the resume. So keep that in mind as you're going. Your work speaks first, I think.
Yeah.
It's in any creative field.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If your work is strong, you'll definitely be able to flourish and make a name, or at least just make a decent living in the industry, which is not easy to get into. But if you definitely have a strong portfolio, you can find work. It kind of reminds me of a football player that I follow was asked a question about does height and speed and power really translate into the game, and he was saying that nowadays, and he's talking about himself, he's like, I know that I'm physically imposing, but if you work hard, somebody will find your talent.
Yeah.
Somebody will find, and I think that's said a lot in an actual baseball. It's like, if you are good, it doesn't matter where you are, somebody will find that talent. And that's the same thing I think you can translate into working in the movie industry, working what we do, whether it's games. If you are a talented individual, especially now online, You can put your portfolio on any given websites, and
You can teach yourself
you
too.
can honestly teach yourself. But again, that comes from, and that's another thing too, that you might be able to get more so from a college environment that you can't really get from a standalone environment, is that competition. One of our coworkers here, we used to, back in the day, just in our foundation drawing classes, we would have competitions on who was able to reproduce one of the master's works better. And I still, to this day, know that my Raphael was better than his Leonardo, and I don't want to hear a damn thing, Captain Slayer. But you know who I'm talking about, because I just said your name. Gonna tell me that his damn lame Leonardo da Vinci self-portrait was better than my Raphael. Get the out of here.
Okay,
Yeah,
Captain
shit.
Slayer, I think you need to get the out of here.
You're
I
right.
think that's
I'm
what
leaving.
Tanner
Goodbye.
means. So, I told you about that. That. Okay. So, another thing about all this is there has to be an end to the podcast, which is going to come now because the battery on the recording device.
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing, because I feel like we're done almost. I think I have a couple quotes.
I've given 2 podcasts today. I should start charging you.
It's a long-standing podcast tradition that I read some quotes, so I'm going to do that.
This is only the second one. What are you talking about?
No, this is episode 6,000. Where have you been?
Apparently,
Okay, this is a quote. I'm just going to say this is a quote from Ridley Scott, which needs no introduction or explanation, I don't think.
Is he a Riddler?
He is. No. It says, if you ever have a kid who doesn't know what to do, stick him in art school. It's amazing what evolves. That's a serious quote. Here's another quote about art school. This is from Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. He says,
Lead singer.
Yes.
Lead guitarist.
Yes. I'd love to go to art school. I'd love to learn how to draw. I'd love to be fluent in Spanish. I'd like to be a brain surgeon.
Because art school is where you go.
You can do all those things, yeah. I guess. Is there a deeper meaning, or was he just,
He's referring to Leonardo da Vinci.
I feel like he was just,
first,
I think he was probably f***ing with whoever he was talking to.
Probably.
Yeah.
I have some wise words that I like to present too.
What's that?
Sometimes whenever you look inside the mouth of a caterpillar, it always comes back as a xenomorph. That's just because your face is going to melt off.
What's his...
Due to the Italian sausages. And how hot they are.
Are you done?
That's only when you look back.
This is a long...
And you say to yourself, I wish I hadn't eaten that jalapeno and stuck it between my toes.
Are you reading this out of a book?
Nope.
Sounds
Top
really
of my
nice.
head.
Will you read...
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm speechless, honestly. You look fantastic, by the way. Can I tell you that? I'm attracted to you in an other than personal, friendly kind of way.
I'm ready to end this now.
You want to
I feel
talk
my
about
life
it?
is at stake.
How about we go get some dinner?
I'm going to leave without you.
I love you.
Goodbye.